My lords, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to Transport Fever 2 Hard Mode. Now I'm pleased to say that in the outro of the last episode we actually unlocked a few things that were very interesting that weren't picked up on camera because the UI was disabled during the cockpit view ride that we had between Marlborough and Market Raisin. So the first thing we're going to do today is cover those unlocks, and it really does signify the end game of the unlocks and pretty much the series overall. That's not to necessarily say this is the final episode, of course, but we are certainly getting very close to that now. Right, as you can tell, we're starting today's episode watching the comings and goings at Nuneaton Station as one of the intercity trains just leaves there and starts to depart on its way towards to Portishead. And in the distance, every now and then, you can see one of the cargo planes just taking off or landing over above the trees there, just off to the left. And there in the middle distance we can see the town of, I forgot, Boston, no, I can't remember what town that is, but yes, there's a town over there as well, so good start there. I forgot what I was going to say. So let's bring up the UI. As we can see, we have tipped over into the year 2000. The money is what it is nowadays, 4.5 billion. I think the initial target that I'd set for this series was to hit 4 billion in the account, so we've more than hit that, and the cash flow looking very healthy as well. And in fact, we're almost up to 2 million items of cargo being shipped. Now, it's with regards to cargo that I want to look at today, because one of the things we've unlocked that I was mentioning what happened during the outro of the last episode is if we go to one of our cargo lines, if you just pick one completely at random, it really doesn't matter which one we look at, so we'll use this one here. And if we manage this vehicle now, we can see on the wagons, the cargo wagons that is, we now have the 99 mile per hour freight cars available to us, which means some, but not all, of our cargo lines can now be upgraded to utilise high speed tracks, so we can get full advantage of these new cargo wagons. Now, as I said, not every single cargo line and train line that we have will now be upgraded. Some of them it would not be justified, but some of them it most certainly would. The one I have in mind initially is our very long lines. For example, this one here, where we have the wood being shipped down from Lewis to Nuneaton and then to Marlborough. That's obviously a bit of a cross map rail line that we have there, and having that one utilise the high speed tracks, it would make the most sense. So what we'll do today is we'll go into the track tool, use the upgrade function, and this line here that those trains run upon will now be upgraded to the high speed track. That will include the stations as well, of course, because they run on those stations and there's no point having the unnecessary slowdown there when they're going in and out of the station, even though they're likely to be slowing down anyway because they're coming to a stop, of course, on the platform, or they may just be leaving the platform, so they wouldn't necessarily be reaching their top speeds at that point. But regardless, we will upgrade those lines as well, the ones inside of the station. So yes, we're just going to very quickly go through and upgrade the lines that those trains run on, as I said. So we'll pick it back up once I've finished going through the entire run and getting those up to the high speed standards. Okay then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I've now gone through and upgraded that entire run from beginning to end, and I've also extended it a little bit, so the wheat freight trains that go all the way over into the far corner down by, I believe it's Wareham down here, because obviously they take a fairly long route as well. all of their tracks have been upgraded to the high speed tracks as well. So those handful of trains now can be upgraded, and then you can now start running these high speed freight wagons, and we'll have to make sure of course that their locomotives are able to hit that 99 miles per hour, otherwise it's all largely wasted. Having a few problems here with train upgrades, sorry, the line upgrades, because they seem to be causing a few issues making trains jump around and switch positions, which isn't ideal, but we'll get there. We'll manage to sort it out eventually, I am sure. Now, what way are you trying to go, sir? Okay, you're trying to go straight on, and you're trying to head back this way. Which way do you... Oh, you want to go that way. Oh, I see what the problem is there. You've managed to block each other in. Well, unfortunately, that's a consequence of these signals here, which we should probably go ahead and get rid of. Hopefully that will clear it up. No, it will not. Okay, so what we're going to have to do here is temporarily send one of the trains backwards and then reverse it straight away after. And we'll just send this one backwards as it's the shorter train. Ah, you can't because of that signal there. Okay. And that signal there. Now you should be good to go. Let's just wait for him to clear the little island here, and then we'll have to put some signals back down, of course. Right, you should now be free to go, and you can start heading out as well. Okay, so let's hide all of that. Bring the signals back into play. And make sure we get them replaced. So we'll have a one-way signal just there. And we'll have a clearing signal for that junction just there. And I think that should do for now on. Well, given that we have this train open, that's the wrong train altogether. Yes. Is that one of our log trains? I believe it is. It is. We can now look at managing these vehicles. So at the moment they can do 75 miles per hour and they carry 208 units of cargo. So let's rebuild this consist with the new modern wagons. So we can go 220. This is 87 miles per hour. Obviously limited by the locomotive that we're using here. So let's upgrade that locomotive as well. Perhaps something like this, the BR185. There we go. 99 miles per hour and 94 on a high gradient, and it hits its top speed in about a minute and a half, which is pretty damn rapid. So I think we'll use this one at 2.5, well, just under 3 million. It is rather expensive, but it's not prohibitively so, not anymore, not for us anyway. Although this one here is cheaper. And it is also ever so slightly faster, but I guess the power's not going to be quite up to par. So let's just see what sort of speed this one gets up to. Okay, so it's only really an extra 10 seconds or so for it to hit its top speed, so I think we'll use that one and we'll save ourselves about 500,000 there. So yeah, let's rebuild all of these trains now with this new locomotive and wagon consist, and this should usher in a brand new era for our freight lines, having nice modern trains running at almost 100 miles per hour, and when they're going over these long distances, that's going to make a nice difference to our finances, hopefully. And here's the final train now. So add the locomotive and then put these new modern wagons on. Again, 220 capacity. There we go. 141 million, money well spent in my view. And we may as well take a quick look at one of those. Obviously we saw one just heading on out there. If we can find it again. That's not it. Where's it gone? I think this is one of them anyway. I think we've seen this locomotive before, but to see a cargo train hitting up to 90 miles per hour is a big difference to where we were previously. The trees are quite annoying there. Let's move out of the way. I like the bridge run alongside there that we did a few episodes ago. That looks quite pleasant. There we go. We now have some high-speed express cargo trains. What we need to do now is obviously upgrade any others that are running along these lines at long distance. For example, I'm thinking these tools trains and obviously these wheat trains all the way over here that basically do a full circuit of the map at this point. So if we get those open, this is the grain freight right here, and we'll do the same thing here. We'll manage these vehicles and see what we can do with a new modern consist. Well, these can use the existing locomotive that they have. They can already do 99 miles per hour, and as we can see here, they get to top speed in 83 seconds. With the original consist, it only takes them 50 seconds, so the acceleration isn't quite as great, but the fact they can still hit top speed and they are travelling a fair distance, so they'll have every opportunity to hit those speeds, is more than satisfactory to me. So I don't think we need to look at changing the locomotives on these ones. We can just look at putting on the new modern wagons. We've gone for 280 capacity. I believe it was about 2.7 something last time around, so we're not, in fact we're actually gaining a little bit on our capacity there, which is always nice. Just missed one out there, so let's do this one as well nice and quickly. There we go. And once again we can have a look at these with their new modern consists and watch them hitting these new unheard of speeds previously for these trains. Is that one of them there? No, that's the steel freight train. I guess this must be one. Indeed it is. Yes, grain freight. Let's have a look. In fact, we'll have a ride on the front just as we pass through West Ham, because that should be quite a nice view. West Ham is a very urbanised and developed city at this point, so having a good look at the skyline as we pass on through once we exit this tunnel should be quite pleasant indeed. So we'll do that and then we'll swing ourselves around and have a look at the new consist. And here we go now. The station is looking extremely busy, very nice. Motoring on through there, as we can see, 84 miles an hour and still rising. There's the skyline looking very busy and very much like a modern metropolis. But enough about that, let's have a quick look at the consist. Make sure we're not going to hit a train on the way through. Yes, a nice modern freight train altogether. Okay, now the other one we could think about doing, if we want to upgrade the line as well, is the train that heads up all the way into Lewes delivering the goods, because they are travelling a fair old distance. Similarly, the tools delivery trains into West Ham could be upgraded as well, as they're still travelling a distance themselves, and modernising those would increase our profits, I imagine, because they're able to traverse the map that little bit faster, and that should make a nice difference to how much money we're bringing in. It's certainly going to reduce the frequency between the time interval between the trains. There we go, so that very fiddly bit there. This line, it's not going too far, the one on the right there, so there's no sense in upgrading that one, to be honest. We may as well leave that one as is. So yes, let's upgrade these ones now as well. So these are the trains that haul both the plastic and the goods between Lewes and Marlborough. So again, first things first, we'll put the new wagons on. And we want the box cars here. This is both plastic and goods. And we'll go 220. This can do 99 miles per hour already. And again, 99 miles per hour in 111 seconds is rapid enough for my money. So there we go, let's modify those. We can spray paint them at any time. There's no great urgency to get that done immediately, of course. Now here's the other ones that are travelling a fair old distance, because we have tools being brought up here all the way from Marlborough. So this one is another line which is a prime candidate for upgrading to the high speed tracks and putting on the new express freight on these lines as well. The machinery less so, because that's not travelling nearly as far, so sticking to the old 70 miles an hour wagons for the machinery trains is probably acceptable. But yes, these are the tools trains. They really are travelling from one end of the map to the other, so giving them modern trains is probably a decent idea. Likewise, the ones that are coming into West Ham as well could look at being upgraded. In fact, so could these ones, because these do travel a fair old distance as well, the oil sand trains. So let's just quickly do these ones while we have one on our screen now. Okay, so we will need to change the locomotive for this one, as we can see there, because it only does 87 and we want to get the full bang for our buck here. Okay, that's only mediocre. 3 minutes, no, that's not good enough. We'd really want to go big. What do these ones do? I don't like the way it collapses this top window at times. It's quite frustrating. Especially when you want trying to check the price. 2 million. 125. How's that in comparison? Yeah, that's pretty... No, it's... No, we'll go for the BR185 once again. It's quite expensive to run, but it really does open up the train to fully utilise that speed of these new lines and these new wagons. So we may as well go for these, and we can absorb any increased maintenance costs, of course. So that's not really a major consideration, as long as we're not being ridiculous and putting, say, a Eurostar locomotive on a goods train. I think we can get away with this. And there we go. So there's the oil sand trains now receiving an upgrade as well. Let's just get one of our goods, no, tools delivery trains. Here they are. And we'll quickly do these as well. Now these only have a 100 capacity, so these are quite short. So what's that doing? That's 80 miles per hour there. So again, we want to look at upgrading these locomotives. And maybe this time we could use the one we were just previously looking at, which is the Class 67. Yeah, there you go, that's pretty much perfect for this, isn't it? So there's that, and then last of all, we probably want to look at doing the tools trains that head over here into West Ham. That's a commuter train, so don't touch that. So we want the cargo, tools freight, manage these vehicles. Again, 104 capacity, so not the biggest. So we could probably use a smaller locomotive on these. We're going to sacrifice a bit of carry capacity here, as we can see, 4 per train, but that's fine. Again, 80 miles an hour is not really good enough for what we're doing now, so let's look at swapping that out. That's far too expensive, despite what I was just saying there. That is just ridiculously overkill on the old speed there. 2.4 million, what about these? 87 miles per hour, so that's a no. Yeah, we're not going to be sticking an intercity on here, of course. Although, what would it do? It would ridiculously tear it up, but it would look absolutely, completely out of place. So, yes, we shan't be doing that, I don't think. Maybe we'll go back to this train here. This was a nice locomotive. There we go. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We now have a plethora of high-speed express cargo trains running across the map. So yes, we really are getting close to the end game now, as I was saying earlier. But rest assured, that doesn't necessarily mean this is the final episode, of course. I think for the final episode, what we'll do is, I'm quite tempted to set up a train that will somehow hit every town on our network and have a full map tour and a very long cab ride, probably without commentary, and just taking the entire map and all the sights and sounds and scenery that we've managed to create together on this playthrough. In terms of what other goals I'd have in mind to achieve for this map, there aren't too many. Perhaps getting the machineries into Marlborough wouldn't be a bad idea, and that'd certainly eat up at least 2 more episodes. The other towns, I'm not, like for example Market Raisin, I'm not too fussed about expanding them at all, and we've said the same with the towns of Bakewell, Blythe and Yoxall, of course. We have 1, 2, 3 really substantial towns. Obviously that's Nuneaton, Portishead and West Ham, and then we do have a handful of medium-sized towns as well, such as Burton, Bracknell, Highworth, Whitnash and Wareham. So having a few smaller towns dotted around, it just balances everything out quite nicely, and you get that in reality. You wouldn't have a cluster of large cities all close together like this ordinarily. So interspersing it with some of these smaller, more what's the word I'm looking for? Less developed, perhaps, would be a good word. Yes. Anyway, yeah, having it interspersed with these smaller towns, it just adds to the aesthetic of the map. and it makes it that little bit more realistic in my opinion. Now I don't think we've unlocked any new high-speed trains at this point. I didn't have a look at the multi-units there while we were managing those vehicles, but we can have a look here. So if we go to multi-unit, no, we did unlock a new 3 or 4 car pacer train, which could be very suitable for some of our longer distance or more popular intercity lines. But in terms of any new express trains, we've got nothing. We're still sat at 208 miles an hour as our fastest possible express train, and that's obviously the one we are using between West Ham and Nuneaton. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll draw an end to this episode here. It might not be the longest episode, but to get some of the express freight trains put onto the map is, you know, a big step. It's one of the usually one of the last things I tend to do on my playthroughs, even the off-camera ones, because at that point you're getting close to the modern era. We will keep the date running, of course, and I'm going to keep it now at 4 times acceleration just so we can tick through these final years. As we can see, because of the amount of stuff that's going on the map, all the calculations the game is making in the background these days, even times 4 the clock speed is relatively slow. As we can see there, we're not really motoring through the dates at all, so there's nothing to lose by doing that. So for an outro today then, ladies and gentlemen, I think what I'm tempted to do is take a flight between Nuneaton, Portishead and Wareham. So if we can find, I think that's one of them there, PTX2WAR. So we'll enter the cockpit, or rather we'll enter the terminal of this aircraft, and as we depart we'll enjoy a nice little scenic flight over into Portishead and have a look at the map from above, which is something we've not really done for quite a while. Here we go now. Let's have a quick look at the plane before we go actually. As you can see, I have upgraded this to the British Airways Boeing 777, so that's now been upgraded. If you remember, initially we were using the Airbus A330. Let's just get ourselves into a nice position here, just right on the nose of the plane. Perhaps not like that though. Well, that's a lovely shot, watching one of the other fellow 777s coming into land just over the side of the hill there. And let's just watch it come down. Yeah, that was a very good timing, very nice shot. Pay attention, pilots, you're about to take off. So yes, I hope you enjoyed the episode. In my mind it's about 30 to 40 minutes, but that's because I went through and upgraded all of the rail lines, all of which is going to be cut out and put into a jump cut, of course, because there was no commentary and it was very tedious. So yes, apologies if it's a little bit on the shorter side today, but I hope you enjoyed it regardless, and I hope you're as excited as I am to see the new express freight trains finally making an appearance on the map. That's express freight cargo. Did I say freight trains? I think I did. Yeah, express cargo, express freight, whichever one you want to call it. Yeah, it's nice to see them finally making an appearance on the map. In terms of the next series then, I've had one very good suggestion, which is we go to Asia next time around. That's something I've never really done before, not even in an off-camera playthrough, so I'd be quite interested to do that and see how that turns out. Now, I would be interested to hear your feedback, whether we go with a randomly generated map thrown up by the game. If we did that, of course, I would share the seed and the map settings, so anybody who wanted to play along at home is more than welcome to, would be able to. The other option, of course, is to scour the Steam Workshop for an Asian themed map. I'm thinking perhaps China would be a nice idea, because you tend to imagine a Chinese themed map would be very large and very open, and that would really allow us to dabble in airports a lot more than we ever have done, and have some really high speed long distance lines, both passenger and cargo. So yeah, let me know what you think about that. For now, ladies and gentlemen, all I will say is yes, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have done so, please leave a thumbs up down below. and obviously any comments and suggestions you may have, even though we are in the end game now for this little series and this map, they are still more than welcome, of course. So for now, ladies and gentlemen, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.